Ohio State camp number 1 in the books. Now it's time for number 2 at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. That's today, Thursday, on the Podcast Daily. That's Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. Yesterday, Wednesday, Birm, what did you learn?
It felt like in-state tryout day for a lot of kids in Ohio as we record this, spoiler alert, on Wednesday. Massillon, Washington.
Went right to it.
Massillon, Washington offensive lineman Nolan Davenport is still doing some work with Justin Fry, trying to get his offer. Westerville North offensive lineman, Louisville commit Jake Cook was very, very good on Wednesday. I don't know if he's going to end up getting the offer that he so covets, but he put in a ton of work and vomited all over the place. It was...
Now, Berm, do you think, you guys, we've been at these camps for a long time. How does that fit into the evaluation? Is that a good thing to do in front of Ryan Day or a bad thing?
He immediately, after taking a minute where Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni and a couple trainers were like, "Are you okay?" Got up, put his helmet on, and went back to work.
And he won that next rep, too.
And he won most of his reps on the day. Jake was really, really good. I think that in a class, maybe if this is a 6-man offensive line class, you could see Ohio State going that route, but they're stretching it to 5, and I just don't know if it'll happen for him. But we saw the class of 2026 in Ohio at defensive back continues to be really, really good. Caden Gephardt, a safety from the Olentangy area, is a player that I think could eventually earn an Ohio State offer. But on Wednesday, we saw Victor Singleton, a cornerback from Toledo Central Catholic, earned an offer. Jacob Weatherspoon, a cornerback from Avon Lake, earned an offer. And now you have 3 in-state corners in the class of 2026 already with an offer, which makes Tim Walton's job for that cycle very easy, provided that he does what he's done already. Larry Moon, a 2027 defensive back from Aliquippa, PA, earned an offer. Ohio State offered their first in-state player in the class of 2027, Jameer Brown, one of the fastest players in the country. He won the indoor 60-meter dash. He's nationally.
Ran a 10.4, didn't he?
He ran a 10.4 in the 100. He's extremely fast. Raw as a wide receiver, but it was actually really cool. You guys were not around, but Brian Hartline was talking to him and his uncle and trying to explain where things go from here. And he said, "I need you to know something. I can't call you. I don't cheat. The NCAA is always looking at my phone because they think I'm cheating, because that's how they think I'm doing that. So I get all this.
Berm's not even supposed to be listening to what I'm saying right now and talking about on the podcast daily.
But it was cool to see him he's like, "Hey, and he's told the kid, you're really fast, but your routes are terrible. And I can help you with that if you trust me." So it's kind of neat to get to watch. That's why I love camp season, because we get to see some of how the sausage is made. And we don't ever really get to see that any other time.
Yeah, well, I know we made this point earlier in the week, but these guys love to coach football. Yeah. They actually get to do a lot of it this month. It's a little different than
it's like the purest form of it, probably, that they get to do, right?
Yeah. The younger kids, it's you're not talking about an NIL conversation. You're not talking about endorsements or playing time. That's I think refreshing for the coaches. It's fun to watch for us too. And then that lets Bill gets really close to the splatter zone out there with the offensive linemen.
I got pretty worried because at one point during the one-on-ones, it was around the time where Jake Cook put on his stunning pyrotechnics.
Well, Jake Cook, it was the rep right before that.
Yeah.
So he brought someone down to the ground and rolled out of it, and then everyone got yelled at.
Yeah, and then Ryan Day, Ryan Day, it was close watchful eye on the offensive line, by the way. Yelled at everybody to get off the field. And I was like, does that include me?
Not you, Bill.
So I just kind of slunk into the background and stayed on the field.
Coach Landis, you just moved it back.
It's a brand new fields out here at the outdoor.
Very absorbent, by the way.
And I'm telling you what, it soaked up that vomit like that. I went over there to look for the vom, and it was nowhere to be found.
You wanted a photo of it?
Yeah, I wanted to. I'm sad that I didn't get, just for posterity, a photo of it happening to send to Jake and be like,
I actually wanted a photo of your reaction to it because I saw you react to it and it was hilarious.
It was pretty gross.
And to me, that makes me pull for that kid even more. As you said, Bill, you were watching it, you were over there. You can get into this if you want, but to get back up and then have another rep, that Ohio State is watching closely. Berm, you described the situation for him where he's maybe on the bubble of earning an offer, being at Ohio State. Imagine the story that we'd get to tell in 4 years if he gets his way, and we'll certainly maybe have to embellish and say got all over the Air Maxes, but I was joking with some coaches about that afterwards. What do you do? What do you make of something like that when it happens? Depends on how you respond.
he responded like he had that, like I feel almost so bad we're talking about it so much, but like that happened. He was cramping up a little bit too, but like he just kept going back in there, and like
he took like 1,000 reps.
Yeah, and the man was working up a lather, but he was really, really working hard. Like I don't know, I might say the hardest working kid out here on Wednesday. I thought he was that impressive, and I think it's very obvious that the Ohio State staff is impressed with everything that kid's done to like put himself in this position to sort of be on the cusp of perhaps getting an offer. So I don't know where it goes either. But that's what happens here. Like you come in and watch these camps and you find kids that you just want to start rooting for, whether or not they go to Ohio State or elsewhere. Like Jake Cook is now a kid whose career I want to follow because I'm really impressed by what he's done.
Yeah, and again, it may not work out, and that's the hard part because he would absolutely do anything to play at Ohio State, and he'll probably, if he doesn't get an offer, he'll end up at Louisville, or maybe all of the conversation about Ohio State will get him an offer from somewhere a level up from Louisville. I don't know, but he's definitely why this stuff is still so cool. And I got a little, I said on Monday at Roosters, I got a little romantic about it, but like this is pure football, and it is awesome to see coaches out here working with kids. I mean, there's a bunch of little kids out here. He goes, "Is that Ryan Day?" Like, oh my gosh, that's Ryan. Like, we don't get to see that, and I think it's so refreshing that Ohio State actually lets us do this, because not every school in the country has their recruiting camps open to the public or the media. So it is a really cool experience.
I thought it was cool too. Like as things were basically wrapped up and we were kind of just milling about the indoor facility, like G. Scott like had his arm around a kid who was probably in Coach G. Scott. The kid looked like he was maybe in 9th grade, but like G's talking to him like not about football, just like about like how to handle your business, right, and how to be a man. Like, and I think that's cool too. Like, I think the players seem to enjoy the position that they're put in by being able to kind of help the next wave of players, whether or not they're Ohio State caliber athletes or Division III guys.
I think we've made it pretty clear that like I'm trying to do something different when I'm out here at the recruiting camps than definitely you, and to some extent you, and G. Scott's Jr.'s performance, quote unquote, during this camp was one of the most refreshing things I've seen. I guess I've used that word twice in the show, but I mean it.
He's thirsty.
There's no world where I think G. Scott thought 5+ years he was going to be hanging out at Ohio State. We've made a huge deal about, the wide receiver to tight end transition, trying to project what that means for his role this year. There were multiple periods of camp where Keenan Bailey, Sean Banks just like stepped back, and G. Scott was leading the drills completely and sounded exactly like the coach's description of it, leading them through, and then still correcting as they went along. And it was really cool
Intensity,
to watch. It was, because you made this point. Like this used to be the way that current players could get a little money by working these camps and getting paid in the summer. They don't need that opportunity, and some still want it. And so I think when we've mentioned the leadership part for Ohio State and some of the transition, like the tight end room specific needs somebody to lead the way, and Will Kazmarek is still new here. Maybe he can do that by the end of the year, but G. Scott has plenty of equity built up, blood, sweat, and tears, and you can see how much it means to him. And I don't know what that's going to mean on August 31st, and it's not, I don't think, dissimilar to something he would have done 4 years ago either, but it's still a very, very cool thing.
Well, it's cool because you see him out here, but then he has Max LeBlanc with him, and is showing him how to do this stuff. And because Max LeBlanc has been on campus for
5 days,
like 5 days, and so you see the new guys, DeMarion Witt and these guys out here trying to get their first taste of what it's like to be on the other side of this. We talked to Garrett Stover at the start of camp, and asked him how different
it's 12 months ago he was on that field over there.
12 months ago he was out there just trying to prove that he was good enough to play at Ohio State, and now you see this in front of you, and we can talk about the players that were here. Donovan Jackson looks unbelievable. Tyleik Williams.
That's just an annual June conversation. Oh my God, look at Donovan Jackson.
I thought
Tyleik looks like he's changing his body finally. I told Donovan, I think he's like better looking now than he used to be. I don't know. He's become a handsome man.
He said, "Get away from me."
No.
He's like, Berm, why do we have such weird conversations every year?
He said Tyleik told him the same thing.
Nice.
He's just growing into a handsome man.
He's got a glow about him.
Yeah, he just and we see these kids out here, and they don't have to be. Like, they don't have to do this.
Will Howard was out here too. I saw.
Right.
He sure was. Devin Brown.
Like, they love being around this, and it's an infectious. It's infectious.
Most importantly, Hero Canoe was out here.
Hero Canoe, I think, sleeps here. I think the most joy I've ever seen on anyone's face was Hero Canoe 3 summers ago now when he was camping with Larry Johnson. So I just think he comes out here because he enjoys it so much.
And he loves to see Berm.
He's a great kid.
Yeah.
It's just, I know we end up, I gush over like how great the people are on the Ohio State team, like, but they really are just great kids. You can find a lot of douchebags in college sports. Like,
it's not hard to find
You
them.
can find a lot of douchebags in college sports, and there are really just not many, if any, of those guys on this team.
Jaden Ballard's upper body looked a little bit thicker. And I think, I guess that's another spring conversation. It's like every time you see him, you know that physically he fits the bill and he does something crazy. And maybe, I don't know, Bill, we talked about the wide receivers in the spring recap. It's like kind of glossed over Jaden Ballard, but he's clearly still putting in the work. He's still in the Woody. He's still out here for a camp on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't be in such a rush. I'm not saying that I am to rule him out of the rotation or that conversation.
No, I'm not. I don't know. Like, who's that? Like, who's that 4th spot, right? So it's a Mecca the 5th spot. So it could be Jaden Ballard. Like, you almost kind of hope it is, right? Or maybe he's even pushing to be the 4th guy on the field. I still think he brings something to the table with his skill set that's like a little bit different from everybody else in the room. And obviously to this point, that's not gotten him on the field. But you're right. Like, he is the kind of guy that, like, almost every time you see him, especially in the spring ball in the summer, it's like, man, that guy looks like he can do something for this offense. So we'll see. I mean, he wouldn't be the first guy for whom it started to click in his 5th year. So maybe, or I guess it's his 4th year, right? 4th year. So it could happen. Like, I'm not writing him off either.
It's weird because we now live in a 24/7, 365-day cycle of Ohio State sports, and there are very small portions of the year where we go 7-8 weeks without seeing these guys. And so, like, now, like, this is one of those days because of spring ball ends and we haven't seen most of these guys since the middle of April, and now you get to see, like, oh, that guy's putting in some work, that guy.
Yeah.
And I really do. I like the opportunity we get to see the guys out here.
Someone who plays defensive tackle for Ohio State from Germany described that process to me. That, like, if you decide to do something and you have a window like that, he said, to make a body change take hold, you need like 4 to 6 consistent weeks of it. Hero was like, he said, well, when I needed to lose weight.
Oh, so it's Hero Canoe?
It was Hero Canoe. Sorry.
Sorry.
Let me get to the bottom of that for you. It's like, that's how long it takes. So this is a window post-spring to right now where you would have had 6 weeks to do the things that you wanted to do, whether that was to put on 10 pounds, whether that was to stay right where you were, which is where this person was trying to maintain coming out of spring ball. Like, it's fascinating to me to hear them describe that in a way that just feels like so much more involved and mature than compared to, like, when Bobby Carpenter was doing it 20 years ago.
I overheard, again, there's a lot of things I like about camp days, but just overhearing random conversations, like I talked about with Brian Hartline, is one of those things. But I heard a player talking to another, like a parent, and saying that Mick Marotti had said, and I'm not quoting directly, but what we've been doing the last couple of years isn't working, so we're doing something different this time. I don't know what they're doing different, but you can definitely see a little bit of a difference in the bodies.
Yeah, I actually didn't see him today, but did you guys watch the video of Josh Fryer and Lathan Ransom playing cornhole? Like, it's like the player versus staff Olympics things they're doing on Twitter. Yeah, I thought Josh looked great. Like, he looked good in the spring. I know you talked about that, but he seems like he's continued to transform himself probably into a guy who's, in theory, going to be able to move around, I think, a little bit better this fall.
Well, there'll be more campers out on these fields later on Thursday, and maybe there'll be more Buckeyes too, so we can talk about that when we wrap up with more coverage as camp season winds along. It'll be day number 2 for the Buckeyes coaching staff out here. Berm's got full coverage coming your way, as he always does, at ohiostate.rivals.com, and then we'll talk about that, as we always do, collectively on the podcast daily, and maybe some Snappy J's. We'll see what happens. Thanks for joining us. That's Bill and Berm. I'm Austin. So long.